we should probably abolish the internet. Just saying. Welcome to How to Write Good. I am your host, Daniel Poppie. You can find out more about me at danielpoppie.com. If it is your first time here, How to Write Good is a writing podcast that seeks to find principles and advice that can be applied across a broad range of writing situations. If you've been here before, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button below, and share. So I'm not actually serious about abolishing the internet because I think the internet has given us a tool. It is a tool that allows us to do so many more things that we weren't able to do otherwise. You know, instant communication is phenomenal. I'm a big fan of instant communication. I'm a big fan of being able to send things out digitally. You can essentially, if you're a writer, you can set up a business, a writing business, and you can not deal with physical copies ever. And you can send everything out from your website or your email address digitally instead of actually dealing with hard copies if you want to. And many people who own businesses actually do this. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs have an ebook and they send it out to people. Either it's free or it costs a certain amount. But you can actually, what's the word? So the internet makes everything better for the individual person. It makes it easier for the individual person to have a voice. It's easier if you have an idea for a business to go, okay, well, I'm going to build this on the internet, because you don't just have to deal with the people in your geographical area. You have anyone who speaks your language. And in even some cases, you have people who don't even speak your language if you're creating something specific. But for someone who's a writer, it usually is a person who speaks your language on some level. And it broadens that. So for someone who speaks English, it's really good for someone who speaks English or wants to write in English, because it takes for example, I'm in an area, let's just say there's 1 million people in my area. It's not super big, but it is somewhat big at the same. It's not the smallest area, but if you cut out the chunk of the state I'm in, it's about 1 million people or something like that. And it takes it from 1 million people to there's probably about 2 billion people on the planet Earth who like my stuff or who read my stuff, right? Or who read English is what I'm trying to say. So it expanded from 1 million to 1 billion to 2 billion. And I think that's a pretty accurate representation of who actually reads or speaks English. And then if you take 10% of 1 million, it's a lot smaller than if you take 10% of 1 billion. It's significantly smaller, because if you take 10% of 1 million, it is 100,000. And if you take 10% of 1 billion, it is 100 million, which is crazy big. So the internet is a good thing, but you should probably get off the internet more. And I have a very good reason for why I think you should get off the internet more. And you can not necessarily abolish the internet, but you can abolish the internet in your life to a certain degree, right? And be more strategic about it, because the internet is a distraction, and the internet changes how you think. And like it or not, the way in which your brain is built allows for addiction, and you can get addicted to the internet, specifically social media. Okay? So for example, with social media, certain social medias are worse with this than others. But how social media works is you put something up online and there's not really a real human connection. There's not the fullness of what a human connection is when you're face to face and you're able to go back and forth, and it's mostly immediate. And what a lot of people use the internet for, especially social media, is connecting to people they don't even know. And it's not even used. In some cases, it is used to connect to people, and it can be very useful in that way. But in a lot of cases, and when I look across social media, like you have people with 10,000 followers on certain social medias, and there's no way you can know every single one of those people. You can certainly appreciate those people, but there's no way you can know those people. It's just impossible for you to know them on a personal level. They probably know you. They probably feel like they know you. They really don't know you. But what happens is you put something out into the world, and then you get likes on that thing. And every time you have a like on that thing, you get a little dopamine hit. And I think this is widespread knowledge, and I think this is why more and more people are disengaging from social media. But every time you get that dopamine hit, you're going to be going back to social media to get more of a dopamine hit. And then if you get more and more, you're like, man, people really like this. And to a certain degree, some people like it. For example, if you have 100,000 people following you and 10% of those people like your stuff, you have 10,000 people who are saying, hey, this is good. And 10,000 people isn't very big, but it is big for an individual, right? It is very big for an individual because it's hard to comprehend how many people 10,000 is, because we live in areas that are more than 10,000, but we usually don't have groups of 10,000 there. So you get addicted to social media because every time you engage with it, you're getting likes, you're getting shares, you're getting people talking to you, and it gives you a little dopamine hit. It gives you a little endorphin hit every time you do that. And I actually encourage anyone to disengage and be very strategic about how they use social media, because it actually can change your ideas. And people usually don't think about this. But when you show something on social media, right? When you put something out on social media and you get a reaction from people, there is a draw toward putting more things out like that. And you can have a lot of different things you put on social media, right? For example, maybe you put out stuff about fandoms, right? You like certain fandoms. You put stuff out about Star Trek. You put stuff out about Star Wars. You put stuff out about Doctor Who. You put stuff out about Battlestar Galactica, just to make it simple. And with each of those, you get, 25% of the people like Star Wars. It's probably more. 35% of the people like Star Trek. 50% of the people like Doctor Who, and the rest, however many, like Battlestar Galactica. And what you're going to see is that you're going to continue to put out those things, but you're going to get more people liking and responding and interacting with the Doctor Who thing. And what happens to people is they slowly shift toward putting those things out more. They can do it, you can do it consciously or you can do it unconsciously, until you're putting out those things that are getting the most likes or getting the most attention, because it's not even attention necessarily. It's not even likes necessarily. It's just the attention people get. This is why when you have a kid who's the bad kid in school, in a lot of cases, that kid wants the attention because they don't get it in another way, right? So they don't care about what type of attention they get. They care about getting attention, whether it's negative or positive attention. They just like that attention. And you might think, well, what's the matter? Why does it matter if I engage with people and I put out stuff that's Doctor Who exclusively? When you are on social media too much, and I would say that all of us are on social media too much, and I'm not on it that much, but I would say I'm still on it too much. When you are on social media too much, you are pushed towards certain ideas. And as a writer, I think that you need to direct yourself towards certain ideas instead of these dopamine hits directing you towards certain ideas, right? And this can be very bad in certain ways with social media, because I guess with social media, and I don't know the exact studies that have found this, but they have done research on this to a certain degree, that things that cause anger get the most shares. Anger gets the most shares. So what happens on social media is that people share things that make them angry. And then you have this circle of people who are angry, who are sharing stuff, and that spreads far and wide, and it makes people angry in general, right? And it can happen for other ideas. Certain ideas can be more enticing to people, whether or not they're in-depth or not, okay? It could push you to be a more angry person, and I don't think that's a good thing, and I don't think it's good for people in general. If we're all getting angrier and angrier and angrier, I think it's better to engage with real people. And this is one of the reasons why I really don't like social media, and I see it as, at this point, a necessary evil. Another thing it can do in relation to writing is it's a huge distraction. And if you're always on social media, you're getting fewer things done. And it goes back to that dopamine hit type thing. If you are engaging with social media, and if you are posting stuff on social media, and you get if you have tons of followers and people are very engaged with your stuff, you are you're getting your dopamine hit from social media. And it could be the case that you're getting more attention from social media than you are with the writing itself. So when you sit down to write, and I think this happens in any area where you get addicted to something, you get so many dopamine hits in one specific area. And I'm sorry I'm saying that word again and again and again. You get so many dopamine hits in that specific area of social media that when you sit down to write, your brain needs to withdraw from that. Your brain, you actually need time to be like, okay, I'm done with that. Let's shift toward writing. And one big issue is that social media is a constant flow of novel information. It's like it's that attention you have, and the internet does this too. And this is why I point out and why I said let's just abolish the internet, even though I was doing it facetiously. The internet and social media specifically allows for a constant flow of novel information. Quickly, it allows for a constant flow of novel information, and it often is in the form of something visual. And it's the easiest way to consume anything is visually, and then sometimes you do get things that are written as well. And I notice this, I do this myself. When I engage with something that's written, I don't do it as much as with something that is just visual, right? I don't like things that are written as much. Now, since we have this constant flow of information, and since social media is created in a way, whether on purpose or just by accident, to draw us in and make us engage with it more, if we are constantly engaging with novel information, we're not stopping on anything to think deeply about that thing. And I think this is really bad for writers. I think this is something that writers should be careful about. Check your social media usage. Make sure you're not just engaging with social media. Make sure you're reading. Make sure you're thinking about things. Make sure you're taking time to stop. Because taking time to stop and not do anything is extremely helpful for making the writing process interesting. So I think that if you are having troubles with this, you might just need to cut it off for a bit. And then you need to slowly introduce it back into your life, because it can be a really big issue. It can be something that brings bad ideas toward you. It can be something that makes you put bad ideas out and get attention for them, so you feel more enticed to put bad ideas out. And it can be an echo chamber of ideas as well. Some of the best ideas I've ever had, and most of the ideas I have for books or for stories, whatever it is, come from me just sitting and thinking and engaging with the real world as opposed to social media. When I get to the point where I'm trying to search the internet or social media, I usually don't search social media for this, but when I get to the point where I'm trying to search the internet for ideas, that's a point where my creativity and my imagination has run out. And I think the best ideas I've come up with have required me to sit down, to take time, to just disengage from everything and just sit with ideas, sit with things around me and let them come to me, instead of trying to go out and find them in a way that tries to shortcut the creative process. So again, I guess this is just a call to check how you're engaging with social media. Check how you're engaging with the internet. Is it something that, are you engaging with the internet more than writing? And for me, I'd probably say, I don't know. I'm not actually sure. It's probably pretty close at this point. And what I mean by that is not necessarily the work you're doing, because the internet is how we do work these days. But I'm talking about leisure. Are you engaging with the internet more than writing, more than reading, more than thinking? And I think that if we actually disengage as a whole society and we use it for specific things rather than just escapism ourselves, I think that if we use it for connecting to people, for putting out good ideas, if we use it for those things instead of being distracted from our lives, I think that we can make a much better use of this thing that is social media. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to support me, there's really one simple thing you can do. You can go to danielpoppie.com/newsletter and sign up for my newsletter. And when you sign up, you'll actually be able to get access to my publication roadmap. So that's everything I have planned for pretty much every project I have into the next decade. Again, that is danielpoppie.com/newsletter. You can also find the link below.